call the May meeting of the Environmental Commission to order. When the secretary is ready, we'll do roll call.
Oh, sorry. There's all this stuff in there. There we go. All right. Chair Horn.
Here.
Vice Chair Cieslik.
Here.
Secretary Rourke here. Alderman Craig.
Here.
Commissioner Sharma.
Yes. Here.
And then Commissioner Seraphin is excused.
Yep. Okay, next we'll do the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll open up the citizen comment period at 7:01. Not seeing any citizens here, so we'll close it at 7:01. Approval of minutes. Did we?
So I apologize, you did not receive
Okay.
minutes in your packets, and that is because our secretary is out of the office for a couple of weeks for personal leave. And so we're a little behind on some of the things that she helps us with. So we did distribute the previous minutes today, and we'll try to get caught up, but the minutes were not available. So.
Okay, so we'll do that next meeting.
Do we need to make a motion to move that to next meeting?
Motion tabled approval of minutes for the next Environmental Commission meeting
Okay.
on June 28th.
Thank you.
There a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Do we want to do elections or we want to unfinished business? Unfinished business. Take it in order here. Our involvement in the Arbor Day 2023 event. I thought it went well. Good turnout. Weather could have been maybe a little drier, but didn't dampen us too much. Thank you everyone for participating, handing out things. Any other thoughts or comments?
It would have been nice if we had had the gift certificate and the seed packets to hand out, which were in the newsletter, but apparently not ordered in time. So,
Thought it was a really nice partnership with the MMSD that they brought value and
yeah, fortunately they kind of filled in and had a lot of stuff to hand out.
Yep, a lot of native. So, okay, good. Thank you, everyone. Update on our City of Franklin Noise Ordinance Subcommittee activity, which doesn't exist since we lost Commissioner Tom.
Well, it's my understanding, if I may, that we made a recommendation to the City Council, and it's now up to the City Council to decide what it wants to do, even if it's just to say, no, I don't think so. But I don't know. I mean, I think we have done what we had set out to do, which was look into the complaints. Dana, you were a few minutes late for citizens' comments, I'm afraid. So, but maybe we can interject as we're talking about this subject. I'm waiting to hear what is going to transpire.
So I apologize, but because of the staffing situation in the department, I have not actually put your recommendation forward to common council yet. I have drafted the council action sheet. We had a discussion in the department about this item, and Lori is new, and so the subject is new to her as well. But part of that discussion included that we'd like to recommend that your recommendations come after you have the opportunity to, and everyone has the opportunity to review the information from the sound study that the county is currently conducting. So we have a tentative deadline that will happen in the relatively near future, that a draft will be available. But, I mean, if the commission wishes to direct that continues forward, that can occur, but we would like to strongly recommend that you wait, because it may influence some of your recommendations. So, the decision that was taken to make those recommendations to Common Council are in the minutes that were published today, so again, you can see that we're behind, but
I'm sorry to interject, but I don't think our recommendations are actually going to have anything. It was literally just saying we want to have certain devices available that are remote and online. That was like the big one, I think, that we took away. And whether we have a sound study that says like, oh yeah, your sound is 85 decibels, or whether your sound is 40 decibels, we still think we should have something for the citizens to see what the sound is at. Because right now, we have something. Nobody's getting a clear value on this, except for a couple people that say like, oh yeah, we go and look at it, and and who knows when those records are, because there is no paper trail when those records are being taken or when they're being written down. And we've asked for records, and everyone's like, oh yeah, we go and look, and it's at 75. Well, there's no actual documentation. Like open record request, we have an issue with having open record requests all the time, but yet there's no open records of when they're going out and actually taking these numbers and what those numbers are. Go ahead. Yeah, come on up.
thank you.
Active? Thank you. Lori Miller, Planning Manager. We actually have an online monitoring system that runs directly to our office. So we can actually take
So that's
readings,
news to us.
and it's been like that ever since those monitors were inserted.
So then let's see the data.
Sure. So when it goes off is when any noise issue comes up. We go and check based on the complaint what day it is, and we review it.
Okay.
Then it's entered into our BSNA system.
So
it is tracked.
But then why are you not giving the citizens this information? So like we have citizens right behind you that live in that neighborhood, that have called, that have asked about it, that have been literally 4 or 5 years complaining about this, and now all of a sudden we have a system. That's crazy to me.
My understanding, and I've only been here for
Yeah, I
3
know.
weeks.
And you're being very, very like, we have a system. Yay, yay, yay. But we have people behind you that are like, no, you don't, because we've been complaining, and never have we heard that we have this data.
Sure, I'd like to also encourage you to look at it at a different perspective.
Yeah.
While they might be complaining, we do have the data, and we can also support that they have not gone over the limit for their district. However, we are capturing that data. It is entered into our system, and that's how we know. I also want to let you know, too, that every complaint that we get takes about 15 to 20 minutes of staff time to go and do the research on exactly what happened in that very moment by pulling this data.
And that's why we're asking for something that can be easily
So we've gotten
pulled up.
150 complaints in the last year, so I'm sure you can do the math on
Well,
it.
and then that's why we said our recommendation is it's an online system that you can go onto a website and you can look at. And that was the recommendation. And so we were told that there is something like that for the study that's done at the quarry. There's like an online monitoring system that's available. It's from Stanek, which is the engineering company.
Sure,
So
I'm
like
familiar.
Jim had contacted that company. So I'm not saying that we don't have a system. I'm saying it should be public and readily available. So anybody can go on and look at it. Because you're telling me we have something. We've been sitting here listening to the sound study information. I'm going to call it BS at this point because I'm sick of hearing about it. But no one's pulled this data and told me we have data. And I'm a scientist.
And
I want data.
I'm standing here and telling you right now we have data.
Perfect. So next meeting, you're coming back and giving me data.
I will try my best, but we only capture data when there is a complaint.
So we've had 150, you just said. So we should have 150 pieces of data.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are we talking about the same complaints that the police department has logged?
I would have to figure that out. I've only been here for 3 weeks, so I am still learning that system on how it's happening. However, every complaint that I have seen over the last 3 years, we went through it the other day, every single one of them is underneath the decibel level, so they are operating, yes, they are operating under the code and under the PDD and meeting those standards.
So you've been here 3 weeks, and we've been hearing about this for 6 years, and it's crazy to me that in 3 weeks you're able to tell me there's a system, and in 3 years no one's been able to tell me there's a system.
I cannot answer for what happened in the past.
Well, I know, and I'm just like, I'm not trying to be
and
rude
I know
to
you're
you,
really upset, and I
but it's
want
like,
to assure you that I don't operate
Yeah.
under a level of secrecy,
well, and that's what I feel like we've been sitting
and I have
here.
ethics.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that staff has been working on it, but we also have an issue with staffing, which you're very aware of. And so the current process that we have for handling complaints is actually bogging us down so much that we actually can't even just work on the solution. So if we go and do some of the things that have been recommended, and we have actually already implemented them, how do we actually work on the solution when we're so busy going and collecting data constantly? The data doesn't help. The solution is what helps.
Well, and
So let us have an opportunity to work on those solutions.
But I think our problem is like I'm sitting here, I hear citizen comment, right? And I can hear it at my house on 79th and Chapel Hill, which is 2 miles from the Rock. So for me to say that it's not over a decibel level is crazy to me because I'm 2 miles away and I can hear it. So like you're like, I know, but where's our monitors, whatever. But we've sat here now 3 times, 3 months now, I think you've come to a meeting and we've been talking about this decibel level, and this is the first time you're telling me there's data that says, no, it's not going over a decibel level. And that, to me, is great. Like, I appreciate that
Well,
you're
I understand
here.
you don't trust what I'm saying.
No, I know, but I'm like, where was this? Like, why isn't this publicly available? Why hasn't this been brought up? Why wasn't this brought up when we had meetings months ago?
I have a solution, at least to what you're
Yeah.
saying right now. I would love to create a solution. So if you're willing to work with me,
You said that you've tried a couple of just have different solutions.
I have a solution for at least the issue of making sure that there's some transparency in what we're doing. I would love to go in and do a report, maybe quarterly, to let know exactly how many complaints we received and what those decibel levels are like. That's easy for me to compile and go and do a report for you. However, I have other solutions, hopefully, to go and resolve the issue. I just need time to do it. But again, I've been here for 3 weeks.
Yep.
So I'd hope you take a little leniency. I'm still trying to figure out exactly where everything is in the process. And of course, we haven't had a planning manager in over a year. A lot of turnover. We're against short staff. So we are trying to work through those issues.
Okay.
So,
Where are the monitors?
Sure, there's 3 monitors on the site. So they're along the property line. There's 2 on the northeast, but they're substantially far apart. And then there's 1 on the west.
Has any investigation been done as to whether or not they are properly sited and calibrated?
They are calibrated.
Can you get us preliminary data as to what the recorded noise level was at, shall we say, peak versus?
I can get even the most recent data, probably to you by the next meeting, at least get a couple of readings. So just to let you know what the process so far that I have learned is when a complaint comes in, normally within a week or 2, because they continuously track stuff. So when staff has time, they can go back and say, okay, so this person complained on this day. What is the peak reading for that day? It calibrates it. They'll let us know exactly what it is from those 3 different monitors.
All right.
However, this is the other thing I'd like to say, is that even though they're operating legally, clearly it's upsetting our neighbors, and it's not being a good neighbor. But I would like an opportunity to work with The Rock and trying to figure out some solutions and make everybody happy. However, I want to warn the residents that this doesn't mean The Rock is going away, because I have heard some of the complaints of saying, close them down. We need to respect each other as neighbors. It's a mutual respect. So I am working forward with that premise.
In other words, there is no discussion ongoing with The Rock at this time.
My understanding, some of those discussions stopped when the mayor switched over, and of course, we've got a new mayor, and he's trying to get his feet settled. So, but we do have some plan to address this, to work with them.
This is going to be shared with us.
As soon as I know, and we have something going, I mean, if I go and share exactly what I'm going to do here, that might also prevent this from happening, right?
It also might prevent us from being optimistic or about or about the genuineness of the effort. Because we've been hearing that this problem was being addressed for years. We have letters from the mayor, the old mayor, saying, please, we're gonna do something about this. I've got the letter from the chief that I requested saying it's a serious problem, but he can't fix it. And people, I've never seen people come to this meeting like have come for this issue.
Sure.
And all we're basically saying is, trust us, everybody's new here, so maybe by next year, that's what you're telling me.
I understand
maybe
that you have a
by next
negative.
year we'll have it fixed.
Again, the solution didn't also, or this issue didn't happen overnight either. I mean, it seems like it continuously got worse as more events occurred on the site, correct? Mm-hmm. Right? And so since that didn't happen overnight, our solutions are also not going to happen overnight. But we are trying to make progress on it. It's something that I hear about every single day. Again, 3 weeks in, every day I hear it for at least 2 hours. So imagine my desire to get it taken care of, so I can actually focus on things like taking care of the residents that come in and want to get plan commission applications, which, by the way, we are a year behind on. I have a lot of desire to get this done.
Quick question.
Absolutely.
What is so it has a PDD, correct, or PPD, or
It's a PDD.
Pre-plan development, right? So I haven't seen the pre-plan development, and I know that they just redid the UDO for pre-plan development. No, I thought they did the UDO like they were looking at them, but it's going to stay the same, correct? So what's the decibel level okayed at in the PPD?
It is specific to that PDD,
So what is it?
79,
So ideally, nothing's going to happen unless that PPD gets modified.
which we can't do.
So ideally, right now, your hands are literally tied. No
No.
matter what we do, you can't change it though. Can you? That's a pre-planned development. So unless you say at the property line, which was one of our statements, that it has to change, that development, because it is part of now our comprehensive plan, but it's a development plan. It's a section of property. Nothing can change. So they're technically, no matter what, are always going to be at 79 because that's what went through.
I disagree with that.
Okay, but you just said it doesn't have to change unless you work with the owner and the owner is willing to accept to have a lower decibel reading.
So, are you familiar with code enforcement at all?
Well, not really, because I don't work in this.
Sure. So I'd love to
realm.
teach you about it.
Okay.
So code enforcement, sometimes people can be operating completely legally on the site. However, it causes what would be considered nuisances to adjacent properties. They are operating legally in their bounds. But there are methods to go and work with those neighbors to overcome those solutions or those issues with various solutions. So there's mitigation efforts. We can increase landscaping, and I'm not saying this is for the rock, this is just in general. Depending on the issue, there are solutions out there. Sound barriers, if there's a tremendous amount of traffic, what can we do to calm that traffic? There are mitigation efforts.
Okay.
But this is, again, I want to caution you, part of the reason why we're waiting on this study is because they are picking what I saw, seems like, big money from the county using one of the top professionals in noise studies, which incidentally there is not a single person in this room or in this building that has that skill set to provide those solutions. I am waiting patiently for them to come up with it because some of them might be cost effective and some of them might be insanely expensive, not only to the rock, but the residents. So I would like to have a chance to review them and then bring them forward.
Okay, and then one more question. When is our tentative date? Because I thought it was getting pushed and pushed and pushed and...
You know, it's typical of the planning process, right? So the UDO rewrite, it's supposed to be done in December. We are trying to go and keep it on track. But again, we're short-staffed. And House Hill and Levine have been fantastic to work for, and we're trying to push it through. But we also want to do it right. They want to do this study right. We get one chance at this.
First of all,
Is there a date, or what's the latest date on when the sound study's supposed to be, results are supposed to be available?
I'm hearing that the draft should be done sometime late next month or early in the summer. So July-ish.
Okay.
But again, I've only been here for 3 weeks. I actually haven't even had a chance to talk to them. So. Any additional questions I could assist you with?
I didn't mean to be so rude to you. but
That's
it's just
okay.
been really...
You're passionate about it,
Well,
and I
I'm just-
understand why.
I'm like, transparency. It's like, come on. Like, you guys have this data and you're not sharing it. I'm sorry.
But again, I think doing
So
a
annoying.
report just to help you understand exactly, clearly you hear the complaints. The mayor hears the complaints. Our staff hears the complaints. Even the people that have nothing to do with this, like the police chief, who is constantly getting called to this, but they can't do anything. However, I think my department can do something about it. We obviously cannot change that decibel reading, but there are mitigation efforts that we could possibly work with the ROC on to get it taken care of. However, when the residents and some of our community members are harassing the ROC, it's creating an adversarial situation. And we need to be a little more patient and let that process and do it as a partnership than instead of trying to strong harm somebody into doing something. So,
It's pretty hard to ask the residents, and I'm one of them, by the way. I own 74th Street, about a mile from the ROC. And my yard is useless in the evenings when there are events going on there.
I live 2 miles from
Being
the Milwaukee
patient
Mile.
with the ROC is, being patient for the residents is when you've sunk every dollar you have into homes that you can't afford to just walk away from. You're faced with a situation that nobody likes. I mean, I've got neighbors with dogs who can't stand it. It's like, come on. But, we hear, the citizens are being unreasonable. Well, they've been unreasonable for 5 years because nothing's been done. And now you're saying we have no legal right to demand that their noise level be reduced. And if that's true, then somebody was really derelict in duty when they created that special business district and gave them that kind of variance.
I think we also need to take note that this isn't a ROC issue. This is actually an issue across the country, because typically the way a noise ordinance is set up is a residential district is held at one standard. A commercial district is held at another. And oftentimes you'll see commercial districts up against residential, right? So you have a neighbor at a commercial area, he's allowed to be at 65, and the neighborhood's at 50. That noise doesn't stop at the border, but yet that's how ordinances are written across the country. So this isn't just a Franklin thing. This is a national thing. But I was about to say, I live about a mile away from the Milwaukee Mile. Have you ever been to Milwaukee Mile before? It's incredibly loud. We all moved in knowing that it was there, and I understand with the ROC, it was there after many of these residents, but we also need to, the State Fair Park has done a lot of work to make sure that neighbors are happy.
Okay, I think it'll be a continuing topic. We look forward to getting some data, some more information, and as far as our recommendation, do we want to hold on that as has been requested till we see sound study, or we want it to go up to council?
Pending the county report, I would say we take no action.
Until we see
I think it's just going to be a waste
the
of time.
information.
May I ask for a suspension of the rules, please?
How long do you want, Dana?
However long you will give me.
No.
Shoot. So I'll do, we can do 3 minutes because I kind of want to get out of here tonight on a time. Because I know, are you going to do based on your email that you sent all of us?
Partially, yes.
Okay, so if you want to do a quick synopsis of that and then add, but let's do like a normal citizen comment, 3 minutes.
Tops.
Top, yeah.
I'm starting my timer.
Okay, I appreciate Ms. Miller being here, and I agree that obviously she's starting a new job, but I do want to point out that the former director indicated on the December 1st, 2020 study, it should be noted that the sound decibel limit of 79 decibels is significantly higher than that permitted in all residential districts, which is 50 decibels during the day and 45 at night. And it is understood that the decibel level is to apply to the receiving district as well as the originating district. That means that technically speaking, a violation of the sound standard at the district line is more material than one originating in PDD 37. Therefore, the responsibility is on the operator of the ballpark commons to apply the stringent standard to the noise beyond the limits of the noise generating location. And then there are some simple fixes. Actually, former Alderman Nelson, who's now the mayor, pointed out at, I think, the February meeting of this committee, that there were some simple fixes as far as turning the speakers away from the residential districts. There's actually several speakers pointed at the residential districts, and that turning the entire volume down. So those are simple fixes that should be done. It does not take the county's sound study coming forward. We all know that that's a problem. The Mayor Olson pointed that out during a public meeting, and I want to, inform Ms. Miller here that there's been 9 to 12 citizens show up to the environmental committee several times to discuss about this issue. It's not just me. And as you know, I have probably attended 100 meetings regarding this topic, and I have never once said that the rock should be shut down. That is the technique they use. They use it very stringently. That's what the neighbors are trying to do. I have never spoke trying to turn it down, trying to shut it down. We have only talked about the noise, that it's completely unreasonable. And this facility is a public nuisance. It violates Ordinance 178, which says public nuisance is prohibited. It affects our health. It affects our property values. It affects morals and decency, since we had to listen to profanity for months. And it affects peace and safety. The noise nuisance, it says to endanger the comfort, health, or repose of your home. And obviously people can hear it a mile to 2 miles away. I think that, and the county sound study. First of all, the county sound experts were not allowed to be on the rock property. So the efficacy of that study is going to be compromised. They were not allowed to look at the monitoring equipment. They were not allowed to look at the operating system, the monitors, the speaker system. And also they said they reviewed complaints, but considering, I believe the supervisor for this district asked for the complaints and she was unable to get them. And I have, that's just the police reports for a couple years right there. There's 280 pages right there of complaints just to the police department. And Ms. Miller did not point out that the sound monitors, I'm not sure if you're aware of that, the sound monitors have not been functional for over a year. So for her to say she has data, maybe she has data in the last couple days. And by the way, there's a game going on right now that I could hear. There's been 12 events in the last week, baseball games, for 4 to 6 hours each event, 12 of them. So I cannot use my property. I cannot sleep at night. And 79 decibels can be at the stadium, but once it leaves the stadium and crosses the residential district, it needs to be 50. It's criminal not to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need to make a motion for the, is this like a motion or discussion only? For the recommendation?
It would be helpful if you made a motion. I mean, I have the draft sheet and the direction to take it to council right now, so if you would like to hold it until after the sound study.
Actually, the resolution that you guys recommended is pretty much irrelevant. There's a lot of information that was invalid on there. I would recommend something like that instead.
All right, is there a motion?
I move that we leave this subject open for discussion pending the report from the city on the existing sound monitors and the county's sound study.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. That,
Darn it, never mind. Sure.
someone want to suspend our rules again?
You have 3 minutes.
No.
No, 2 minutes for a question. A minute and a half.
Is it relevant to this topic and something that we can answer?
Well, I don't know. I'm just wondering, it just seems that there's a great deal of concern for the rock and just listening, and not a lot of concern for the homeowners who were here first. And when the rock was proposed, all of these problems and issues were mentioned and said these are going to be problems, and Zimmerman had a response for everything. Oh, no, don't worry. But everybody's worst nightmare has come true, and it seems like everything seems to be slanted towards the rock so that the rock can keep functioning, but nobody seems to be very concerned about the homeowners who were here first, who bought property assuming that that area was never going to be built on because it was a Superfund toxic waste site that shouldn't have been built on. And now all of a sudden they've got a rock sitting there. I live a mile away from the rock. I'm deaf. My house is closed up. I never open windows.
What's your question?
Is there a concern for the taxpayers of Franklin who had this foisted on them? I don't think there were very many people that were thrilled with the idea of the rock, and this was basically shoved down people's throat, and now they're stuck with it and all the ramifications, as were people in Greendale who had nothing to say about it.
Okay, from this commission, yes, we do have a concern, and that's why we've been discussing it at numerous meetings. So if you're asking if others, I can't answer for others, but from this commission, yes, we are concerned.
Is there any hope for helping the taxpayers, or helping
How
these
about this?
people that live there?
The hope is voting. Like, ideally, there's people that approved this that were voted in office. We are volunteers, but if you're, the real concern would be the commission, like your common council. Those are the people we voted for, or that the residents voted for, that approved the rock with that PPD at a 79 decibel noise level. Those are the people that should really be asked at this point. We're trying our best as a volunteer commission to say, like, hey, this is an issue, but at the end of the day, it's about who you vote for, because we couldn't have said no to it. Like, this commission could have said, like, no, it's not, there's environmental hazards, but at the end of the day, that's our recommendation, and it goes to the common council. So who you vote for really matters, and that's what I think the lesson is we're dealing with right now, is that maybe we had a common council that was not thinking and speaking for its residents at the time, and now we're going to have to either backtrack or have a common council that does, but we're going to try our best, but at this point, it's 5 years, 6 years now, 3 elections later. So, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's been a lot of movement, so maybe something can change. But at this point, I think we can try as hard as we can, but it's also about who we vote for.
Do you have hope that when you get done with your study of this and whatnot, you present it to the Common Council, that anything will come of it?
Maybe. I don't know.
We can put forth recommendations, and what they do, they do. So, okay, thank you. Moving on, item C, I'm not sure what the next newsletter date would be, but do we have any articles and information that we want to put in?
Isn't it the one right before 4th of July?
So the newsletter date for the upcoming newsletter was a couple of weeks ago. The next deadline is July 25th for the September 11th rough deadline of issuing the actual newsletter. So if there's content that you want for that newsletter, didn't catch that.
We
August
need it
25th, you said, right?
July 25th for September 11th.
Yeah, because there is a pretty long lead time between the putting the actual newsletter together and getting it published and mailed.
So we'll have to know that by
Next meeting if we
next
have any
meeting or
articles.
something like that. If we have any ideas we want to put in.
Yeah, and I think Lisa, so the city administrator's office, the July 26th deadline is the same day as your July meeting, so if you had something you submitted on the 27th, I can ask, and maybe she will be nice to you. But if there's stuff that you want to put in your next agenda to discuss, that would be appropriate.
Yeah, it'd be good for June if we have anything. Okay.
I was thinking, given that we've got this special MMSD relationship this year, one thing that we could do that would be appropriate in fall would be to have a special drop point for hazardous waste disposal in fall, as people are finished with their fertilizer, their poisons for their, bug killing, paint, solvents, all the home improvement stuff. MMSD has regular drop-off points, but if we wanted to do something specific for Franklin residents, we could probably get them to bring us a truck and a team to accept stuff for 4 hours, 5 hours. I'd be happy to approach them about it, but I don't want to do it without your permission.
So like on a
Disposing
weekend-
hazardous waste.
Yeah,
in
and
fall.
just instead of having people run it over to college or whatever that is.
Would we
Right.
want to do it like in October?
Yeah. Or November.
Yeah.
I think October would be much more, because
we-
everyone would be packing it in by
Yeah.
November. Like, it would already be
Gone
stuffed in
already,
a basement or in their trash bin before
Yeah.
that.
I feel like mid-October is like when we do
Yeah.
our final
What we're trying to do is avoid having them throw it in
garbage.
their
Yeah.
garbage, and it lands up in our landfill, which
They-
will land up in our water eventually.
So they've done these like mobile remote
Yeah.
drop-off?
They have mobile drop-offs, but they only do a few. But given that we are their special buddy this year,
Right, right.
I'm thinking it would be a nice addition, shall we say. And the timing is right for the end of the home improvement and yard care and whatnot season.
I think they're doing the shredding event in September maybe, but probably want to have it on a separate day.
Oh yeah, different
Yeah,
equipment.
because that was, but
But if we don't need an answer until next month, I'll talk to them and see.
yeah, see if that's something they would consider, and then I presume we'd have to check with someone at the city if they're
DPW.
willing to have this take place on city property.
You guys have a good working relationship with the library, and it is centrally located, but Public Works might also be, their shed might also be an appropriate location, and I can ask if that's something they would consider. They might have stuff to contribute, who knows? I don't know how it works, so.
Right.
Yeah, I was thinking more of the ward yard on Bryan
Right,
for an event like this.
okay.
But
Yeah, because the whole traffic situation and all that, but yeah, something to consider. Good idea. Good idea. Okay. Item D, we had the referral on No Mo May, and who was it? Somebody wanted to give the counterpoint, and we're not getting the counterpoint, so the item is done. Although we were supposed to provide recommendations on mowing practices, right? And didn't someone want to give those to us? Was it MMSD, or who did we have previously?
We had a discussion with MMSD about plant types, and that was part of it. It was plant alternative landscaping and mowing practices. But there hasn't been any recommendations made or further research. I can follow up with MMSD and see if they have mowing practice information, but I don't recall if anyone wanted to take that on, so.
It was on the news. There was a huge news article on.
Sorry?
There was like a news article like a nationwide article or special done where they went up to Appleton and talked to them about it. And it was on the TV. I don't know.
On alternative mowing?
Well, like the whole no movement, and then there's like various people talking about it. And
But yeah, I think the city, some of the
Wants it.
council wanted
specific
best practices or alternative mowing and different plants.
Well, considering May's almost over.
But in general, in the city,
Wasn't
for
that
city property.
wasn't JD gonna get us something from when she talked to us about natural resource? Because we talked about the different plantings and stuff and all that.
Yeah, and where was she from?
She was from the the environmental UDO talk. I don't know if she was one of the
I was thinking it was like 2 months ago, but
MMSD. I think said they would have
Was it?
something, especially with like the wildflowers and stuff.
yeah, if you want to, Marion, if you want to check with MSD folks to see if they had
Oh, we
that.
just-
I'll try and check my
We should
notes
just
too.
walked over to the library.
Right. Okay, is there any, item E, updates on the UDO task force and the rewrite process?
We got
Since we
canceled.
heard about it for 2 hours last month.
And thank you for your input. That was really constructive, and I think hopefully it will result in having a more comprehensive natural resource section. So I appreciate everyone taking the time. Unfortunately, JB has also been experiencing some personal issues, and so there has been a delay in that chapter being finalized. And so I'm not totally sure what the schedule is for it to go forward to Plan Commission. But again, Lori being new as well, she's trying to get a handle on everything that's been happening with that. But the natural resource section is, like, I haven't seen the revised draft yet, so I apologize. I don't have an update beyond that today, so.
Okay, continue with that down the road. What about our item F, Buckthorn Subcommittee activity?
It's been on hold. Maybe we can subcommittee it out and find some research on, no May lawn mowing.
Subcontracted?
We can, get together and have some coffee.
This- My suspicion is this fall, for those who are interested, Ware Nature Center is going to be partnering with the Franklin Public Schools on what's called the Weeds in the Wild program again for grade schoolers. And I did 3 of the 4 schools last fall with a few other people from Ware Nature Center. And they were suggesting that it would be expanded this fall. They have offered to kind of coordinate a training session for adults on removing invasives, identifying invasives, but somebody has to, give them, shall we say, an incentive to offer such a program. I don't know if you want to partner with them, or suggest perhaps a small fee for each Franklin resident who might want to sign up. I don't know, but I can't promise. They're like everybody else. They've got lots to do and not a lot of people to do it with. So they rely on us retired folk to come and fill in the gaps. So if we want to pursue a buckthorn, or more broadly speaking, an invasive control program, we've got to partner with some people who can do it. The chairman and I were both sitting there, digging up stuff next to the library last week, and I tried to borrow what's called a weed wrench from the city, only to find out they don't know what a weed wrench is here. And that's what they use to pull buckthorn that's too big to pull by hand. But I went to the Friends of the Milwaukee County Park System. 2 friends, some friends they turned out to be. I couldn't get one. They're all spoken for. So maybe we got to put a budget in for something like this. I don't know. But if we want to do invasive control, I mean, we either have to propose a program that we want to fund, promote, staff, or refer to somebody like Root Pike Win or
What if,
where.
so, I'm just trying to think of my, I have this whole summer thing off going on. I don't know why, but what if I
have a whole
find some
year off,
resources and properly cite them so we can put them on the website? Like, because I know Minnesota has a huge program. We could even use Minnesota stuff on buckthorn removal just to get people knowing how to. Because whenever we have the Arbor Day, people are like, "Oh yeah, I have a ton of buckthorn, and what's the proper way of getting rid of it?" They ask because they know they want to get rid of it. So I think we just have to have the resources to show people, not necessarily provide like, "Oh, you can go to Weedman 505 over here and have them do it for you," but at least give them the proper techniques of doing it. And then maybe talk to the library about getting a weed wrench that can be rented out, like the Milwaukee table saw or whatever they have.
Yeah, that'd be a useful tool for them. But yeah, I think part of our recommendations were the education and outreach.
Yeah.
I also like, I don't know, if they have something at the library, or it would be better, more hands-on somewhere, workshop partnering with Ware folks and
What about the
Brook Hike.
conservancy? What if we did like an event where they could come out, we would go to a property and they would show it, like almost do a workshop on removing buckthorn on one of the conservancy properties.
Which
The
conservancy?
land conservancy.
Which one?
Oh.
The land conservancy.
Milwaukee
Milwaukee?
area.
Milwaukee area.
Yeah, I'm sure
Because
they,
there's a ton of property off of them.
yeah.
Yeah, Carity.
Yeah, they've got about 4 properties right here in Franklin
So,
that they're
yeah, maybe
managing.
just a small workshop how to do it, and then if you want to stay and help remove it, you can stay, and that would be a nice day to like get people out there removing some of their buckthorn. But it's also a workshop of how you can remove it on your own property. Do you want me to contact? I know somebody part of it, and see if I can get some contact information.
Go for it.
They wanted me to join them and leave this, by the way.
Yeah, I was amazed I couldn't get a weed wrench from anybody.
Yeah,
But,
they're handy tools.
we digress in strange directions here. Hey, they're even more fun to play with. Just watch what a 3rd and 4th grader will do with them. It's amazing.
I'm going to Google it immediately after this.
Yeah, various sizes of them too.
We can even do it on the Mike's property.
Okay. New business. Election of officers.
Weed
Do we
wrench.
have any?
I make a recommendation,
No.
all officers stay the same. Can I do that?
You did nominate people.
Oh, I nominate Linda Horn for chair. Do you want it? Oh, I should have asked.
Does anyone else want it?
No, I'll second that.
I'm more than willing to turn over the gavel.
So we got a second.
Okay.
Second by
Oh.
Cecil.
Do we have to do roll call or just general?
If there's no other nominations, then you
On.
are then you're
We can just do it all.
installed by.
Is there anyone else?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Perfect.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I vote.
My my
Yeah. Thank you.
congratulations.
I make a motion for Cecilic to continue as vice chair.
I second that.
Any other?
I'd nominate Dana for an honorary position, but might have some serious objections. She means well.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Congratulations.
I guess.
I have
James?
flowers in the car.
And Jamie, would you be willing to continue your excellent secretarial position?
Excellent. Don't say that. It's not that right. Sure.
Okay.
I can do it.
Okay.
Are you motioning?
I'm appointing,
Oh,
because
that's
I have
right.
that power.
Thank you. I forgot about that one.
All right. Item B, overview of our administrative rules and procedures.
Thank you, Chair. In your packets, I provided a copy of the administrative rules and procedures for the commission. This is actually basically the text of the municipal code where the environmental commission is empowered. So just wanted to canvass this fairly briefly. This is structured somewhat like a set of bylaws would be, but there are supposed to be 7 members. You currently have 1 vacancy on this commission.
Yes.
5. Yes, so you have 1 vacancy. And one of those members is an alderperson who's a representative of the Common Council. At present, there's no process to report out from commissions to Common Council, but that is something that frequently that alderperson will take on the role of, like, if an item goes forward to Common Council, the alderperson represents the item with support from staff. So you are enabled through our local ordinances as essentially a committee of the Common Council and established through the municipal code. So this is basically just like what the rules are for the commission under the municipal code. And it also discusses a little bit, so I put the copy that I would hand out to someone and also a copy of the ordinances because there are some differences. But I wanted to talk a little bit about your powers and duties because that's a question that comes up. And I'll make sure that Commissioner Serafin, who is the newest commissioner, has this information as well. But this commission is broadly empowered to review and recommend policies regarding waste management. So recycling and composting are kind of the 2 practices that are most common for environmental waste management in Franklin, and also to make sure that it complies with state regulations. There is a separate commission that has oversight of the landfill. So just to be clear, while you're discussing waste management, the landfill itself is overseen by a different body. You can make recommendations regarding environmental issues of concern to the city. So Buckthorn is a good example of that this commission has taken on an interest in pursuing ways for the city to address the issue of invasive species and has made recommendations and reviewed different options for that. So No Mow May is is an example of something later down this list, but the commission helps monitor federal and state laws and policies regarding environmental issues as they relate to the city. So this is if there are issues at that federal level that you want to bring to the attention of the city. Obviously, we have a role and a requirement that we comply with federal and state law around environmental issues and natural resources. But this commission is part of that enforcement process. So you guys are familiar with the natural resource special exception process, at least in the broad overview that we had at our last meeting. You haven't seen one in a while. We expect that you will in the next year and a half. There's some things brewing that might bring one forward. But that's an example of how this body is locally enforcing the local ordinances related to natural resources and then also monitoring how the federal and state ordinances are being applied. So promote interest in obtaining grants to assist the city in environmental matters. So for example, Commissioner Cieslak brought forward information about the MMSD Green Fund it's a couple years ago now, but those funds have been used for projects related to Water Tower Park to help with an invasive species removal project there, and there are other proposals that have worked under that. And if you think of something you want to share with the city, please send it forward. So to promote citizen participation in events concerning environmental issues like Arbor Day, and then review and recommendation of such matters as directed by the Common Council. So as an example, what was my example about that?
Is this No Mow May recommended?
No Mow May.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. So No Mow May was something that Common Council was receiving a lot of feedback from the community about. And They referred that item to this commission to do the research that you did last year and make a recommendation back to them based on your understanding of the issues, discussion with the community, research that you did. So I think that was very thoughtfully done. So this is just an overview of those rules and procedures. I think it would be valuable to have a separate conversation about Robert's Rules of Orders and open meetings, especially when the commission and everybody's here. But I'll just remind everyone that to be cautious of things like walking quorum. So you all know each other in the community, but you are not allowed to discuss environmental commission business like specific to an agenda item if you're meeting each other out in public. So that creates a little bit of conflict, and that's one of the reasons why we've had some of the subcommittees that we've had, because otherwise you can't work on some of this stuff. But just be aware that that is a requirement, and that also pertains to email. So a gentle reminder, please don't reply all. It's important that you reply only to staff. You can include the chair if there's an issue that she needs to be aware of, but please reply only to staff when using email. So we're hoping to get a more comprehensive overview of just like commission procedures and the broad outlook and Robert's rules and open meetings in the future. But for now, I wanted to make sure you had your own enabling legislation. So are there any questions?
Okay, thank you. And item C, Environmental Commission involvement in Franklin's National Night Out in August. And then we got the request from the city police contact, I guess it was, if we want to be involved. Jim, do you want to be our coordinator again? Contact with them? Let them know, are we interested in participating again? For the...
And what are we going to do there? Besides sit there and say hi.
Or the Environmental Commission.
What do you want to do? I mean, the National Night Out, I mean, I understand what the police and the fire and the health department and you know, some of the other areas of government want to participate. What is it we want to do there or share with the people, the residents? It's primarily a police fire event. I mean, I've attended the last two, and except for the goodies we brought along and handed out, which we had trouble finding this last month. I'm trusting if we order some more, they will show up before the event. But, yeah, I mean, if we want to hand out seed packets and do another gift certificate for a garden, the problem is the timing of this event is August, early August, I believe. August 7th. It's after almost every garden center has basically sold off its stock. So, you know, giving people a gift certificate for a future garden is the best we can offer them.
Do we more so want to be almost like not have our own booth, but have, like MMSD I'm sure is going to be there with their rain barrels. Like we can see if Root Pike Wind will come with their water garden. They almost can together be there.
Root Pike Wind will be there.
So it's almost one of those things. I'm wondering if we do show up, we might not necessarily have our own table, or we have our own table and we are merged between these two, right? Like how we're trying to help sponsor this. This is something the Environmental Commission brought and asked to do. I think it would be that type of representation, but it's nice to see, like, community-wise, there's no other commission there, which is really crazy to me. Like, our tourist commission's not there. Like, that's weird, because you have a whole bunch of businesses that bring people, you know, coming to do stuff. So I can see why you're kind of being hesitant on it, because it's like, yeah, we're doing this. It doesn't really make sense for this environmental commission. We've gotten email addresses, but we haven't really done a newsletter on anything because we're still like up in the air about like, hang on, we're still doing paper letters, but I thought we were gonna go email. I don't know. So I would say if we go, it's like a representation for the 2 environmental things, and if Grobschmidt's there as well, but not necessarily have our own table to do the seed packet thing or a garden. I think it's a nice touch, but I'm not sure that.
If we want to invite the Friends of Grobschmidt, the Friends of Ware, I'm trying to think if we have another.
Who had brought all those fossils and
Those Friends of Ware.
Friends of Ware.
Friends of Ware Nature Center. They can promote their activities, their activism within their parks or the nature center, and I'm certainly very supportive of anything they're doing. They're probably going to be there regardless for them. But that's just it. I mean, unless we want to adopt the garden at the library, I mean, I don't know what, we don't have, quote, an event that is, an environmental commission, property, shall we say. So, I mean, if we want to go there as part of that, coalition of area environmental groups, that's fine.
It's kind of hard to get all together tables, wasn't it?
Well, that
We
was,
wanted to be next to Grobschmidt.
yeah.
I guess that did work out last time, so.
It did work out. Once I was in a class meeting with the guy.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to reserve a table, and then we'll think about it next month some more, but
Do we have to have our reservation in before June? Or can we be like, hey, July 3rd, be like, hey, well, I guess we'll do it.
I honestly don't know. I'll find out. I'll talk to our friends at the police department about something but besides noise and see what they have to say.
Okay, yeah, they're also looking for donations
Of what?
for the night, so you could be a sponsor and get your name on the
T-shirt.
The only reason why I like doing it is so I can get the t-shirt.
I'll give you my old one.
Like, I give them to my kids, They can represent National Night Out.
Yep.
I didn't get one last year.
Okay, we can talk about it again at the next meeting.
I added it. It's August 7th from 6 to 9. Put it in the agenda.
Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for June 28th.
Oh,
Hopefully that works for folks.
May 24th. June 28th, 2020.
Any other items we want to talk about next time?
You sent me the pictures of the polos, but they're all female polos. So I was looking at those, like, oh, I don't know if Craig over here wants a V-neck polo.
I can't pull it off.
So, and then I'm not sure, like, the polos were nice and all, and I don't know if we want polos or t-shirts or what either, so I didn't know. But I saw them, and I'm like, oh, they're all ladies. Pretty cute, but the V-neck is just, I don't think it's right.
I mean,
So
if you pair
that would be my
cardigan
only thing,
or
because then we
something
could get
like
those ordered, and probably, if we are going to be doing National Night Out, we could be repping our new apparel.
So I would ask maybe pick because that website has like a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the website.
And you
that-
pick like 3 of them. I would say we would want to probably go with like the navy blue, although it might be a little hot. Or just a white. How do you guys feel about white? A white polo?
As long as it's before Labor Day.
Would you want to pick out a couple of options and then we
Yeah.
can bring it
Can
to
you
the
just
next
send me
meeting?
the email? Because you sent me just images. Just send me an email of like it's Port Authority, I'm assuming, and then I'll look and see what we got. I'll do some colors. I'm might actually that blue color might be pretty nice. I like that color. Yellow, or should we do green because we're environmental? But blue is
Green.
water.
No? Water, air. Okay, any other items? Otherwise, we'll adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, meeting adjourned at 8:05.